Let's move on to just NFC games specifically before talking about the Monday night game. New York Giants against the Chicago Bears. This one is a coin flip for me, Ashton. It's hard for me to decide who I want, but I think my gut's telling me to pick the Bears just because of the fact that Saquon Barkley only had 6 yards rushing on Monday night. 6 yards. This man's supposed to be a superstar running back, supposed to be a player that can lead this team, and he only has 60 yards on the ground.
Yeah, this is the other team that's
That's a
hard
six
to.
points.
This is a hard game to decide for all the opposite factors from the New England Seattle one because both teams looked bad. I mean, the Giants' offense was a little. I was impressed a little bit with Danny Dimes because it wasn't a hot fire, so it wasn't terrible. That's why this game is a little hard to decide because it's who wins between Chicago's defense and the Giants' offense. That's the key matchup to me is who wins between those who will end up winning the game. And I have Chicago just ever so slightly with you. Um, the
I will
Giants,
say,
I just don't have enough stock in Danny Dimes to start calling those wins. Coaching, I would give to Chicago, even though they're a garbage team.
something about the Giants real quick. I was high on Evan Ingram going in this season. They're tied in New York. But the game he had against the Steelers week one was just awful. He could not make plays when they needed to. There's like 3 separate occasions where he hurt the team when he was on the field. I know you're playing Chicago, and Chicago's not this glorious team, but they have one of the best top 10 defensive players in the NFL in Khalil Mack. They have one of the best safeties in Eddie Jackson. They're going to be tough. And I don't think I can trust this New York offense enough to get the victory against Chicago. But next game of the day, Carolina Panthers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Weird performance by Tom Brady that we're not used to seeing. 2 interceptions week one. Bad game for Tom when a loss against New Orleans. Does this change your mind, Ashton, on the outlook of the Buccaneers and this game?
Um, Not necessarily. I think they're gonna have a rough start, especially with good teams. They don't have the chemistry, but Carolina is not a good team. They barely got through beating the Raiders, and I don't have the Raiders doing that well. So Carolina is all right, but I think the Buccaneers will pull it off. It'll be a closer game than a lot of people or analysts expect. I think it'll be a win by like 3 or 7 points, but they'll pull it out.
Oh no. Okay, this is where I agree with you. The Buccaneers are going to win. I think it's going to be a complete blowout. I think it's going to be 21 points or more. Because listen, I like the Panthers' offense enough. They look decent against the Raiders, but like, let's be honest here, the Raiders are not the defense you're supposed to have on a pedestal to look at and say this is a defense. No, we don't. No one's telling us, or no one will tell you that the Raiders are that defense. But the Panthers still put up 30 plus points against any team. That's impressive in the NFL, regardless of how good the defense is. Tampa Bay, and especially Tom Brady's going to be playing kind of mad after that kind of humiliation on the hands of Breeze and the Saints. When the Saints' top receiver in the NFL, Michael Thomas, is held to under 20 yards receiving, and you still lose like you do. That's on Tom Brady, a lot of it. 2 interceptions is going to change that game. They're going to come out with the passion, run up the score, I truly believe, because he does not want Bill Belichick to have the upper hand. He wants to prove everyone wrong that he is who he is. And it's no coincidence that the Super Bowl's in Tampa this year. He wants to be in it. He wants to lead a hometown team there to say he is the GOAT of GOATs. And I see a win there. Moving on to an interesting kind of maybe the best, I wouldn't say the best, but maybe the 2 best one-loss teams as of right now. Atlanta Falcons at the Dallas Cowboys. You know you were in a barn burner with the Rams in the Dallas game. We both picked different. You came out on top with the Rams winning, so congratulations there, Ashley, on your Week 1 win. I have Dallas winning this game. I think that game with the Rams just showed that Dallas is almost there. Along with the Rams, I think they both are the teams that are just on that cusp of being a Super Bowl contender. Both teams should be playoff teams. I think they beat Atlanta. I liked Atlanta's offense okay week one against the Seahawks. Defense looked atrocious, like I thought going into the season. It's not going to change. And, when you got to play Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and Ezekiel Elliott, it's not going to be easy unless you got a good defense like the Rams did. I think they get a good win, maybe 10, 17-point victory over the Falcons.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the difference between Atlanta and LA was mainly the defensive performance. Like, it's going to be hard because LA did allow a lot of yards, but they didn't allow a lot of points. So they kept them from running behind them. They did a lot of soft man coverage. Atlanta just doesn't have the talent on the defensive side. Offensive, like if they got a defense, I think Atlanta would be a surprisingly good team, kind of like they remind me a lot of the Cardinals from last year. Just like they have pieces, but not enough to beat good teams. So I have Dallas winning this one, but it's going to be a close game. I think this one will be a 3-point touchdown one.
If you look at Matt Ryan's stats from the game: 450 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick, 98.5 quarterback rating. It was not Matt Ryan's fault. It was not the
No.
offense's fault. But you can't help it. It's Russell Wilson. It's DK Metcalf. It's Chris Carson who caught 2 touchdowns. Like, that defense has to step up. And if you think that it's going to be a quick turnaround when you got to go play Dallas on the road, I just don't see it. No. Moving on to the team that Dallas lost to, and something that you're super happy about, your Rams
I am.
take on what looked like the biggest team of the week, the Philadelphia Eagles.
They lost to a football team without a name.
I think we're going to be both in agreement here. The Rams pull this one off, Ashton.
Yeah, before this season, I remember looking at the schedule and penciling in the first 3 weeks as losses, and it's crazy how things can change and how.
I agree with you. I think me and you were discussing this over the summer. I said your schedule's hard this year. You got the Cowboys week 1, you got Eagles week 2. Both those I think I had losses. But you look now, like you were saying, you just beat the Dallas. You just beat the Dallas. You just beat the Cowboys.
Eagles they feed into the meme that they're the walk-in hospital of the NFL. It's like they have so many people hurt. When you get 8 sacks on your QB, you're asking for your QB to go down for the season. And you know who you're facing the next week? You're not facing a nameless football team. You're facing a defense with Aaron Donald on it, who wrecked arguably one of the best offensive lines in the entire NFL. Like, he was throwing around double linemen like it was nothing, like they were candy, and like picking up Zeke and just moving him like he's just nothing. I definitely have LA beating Philly. Philly will come in. I think it'll be a closer game than people aren't expecting this to be close. I think the Rams will win it it'll be like 35-17. Maybe they get another touchdown because their tight end group is good, and the Rams middle linebacker group is the weakness of the entire defense. So the Philly does match up well against the Rams. But Brandon Staley shocked me. I wasn't happy with his defense at all the first half of the game, but he made adjustments and held the Cowboys, who was the number 1 offense last year, to 3 points in the second half. So we'll see if the Rams are for real. And I think the big question for the Rams is, can they win next week against Buffalo? And that will be the game that will be their statement for what type of team this is. And if they lose to Philly this week, then they're going to be exactly like the 2018 Rams. They're going to have a lot of ups and downs. And as a Rams fan, I hope that isn't the case, because Philly's in a position, arguably, they should not win this game at all.
If Atlanta pulls the upset, if somehow Philly pulls the upset, you're looking at an NFC East that is completely different than what anyone expected at the beginning of the year. You have a potential, right? If that Washington will be on top. It's crazy to me. It's just it's if Atlanta wins and the Rams win, you're gonna have NFC East that is probably the worst in football because you have the Dallas Cowboys who are 0-2 at that point, the Philadelphia Eagles who are 0-2, the Giants who we're gonna predict will be 0-2, and then you have the Redskins sitting, even if they lose their game, which we'll talk about in a second, at 1-1. Only one team in the whole conference would have a win.
And
Out of four.
I think it's crazy because if we are right, you could potentially have only one team with one win and then in their entire or two wins in the entire conference and the NFC West, which I think we both predict will be 2-0. That is insane. Um,
Yeah,
or not 2-0 besides the 49ers. Um,
let's move on.
so you'll have three 2-0 teams and one 1-1 team. So I definitely give the Rams the advantage on all phases. Carson Wentz did not look impressive in his game against Washington football team. Uh, can't get used to that.
You
And the
have
Rams defense looked really impressive, and especially with their pass rush, which the Rams for a while had struggled with even in their 2018 Super Bowl team. So the Rams are giving me shades of the 2018 team, and if they can keep the consistency, I think it'll be a good year.
Last thing I'll say about the Rams, real quick, is unlike you, I wasn't too impressed with the Rams week one. I'm not saying they didn't deserve the win; they probably did, but they did not close like they should have. They made some errors like they shouldn't have, and it did not. And it did help that
It was a rusty game.
they were in a position where the refs made calls against them that wasn't good calls earlier in the game. So when it came down to the end of the game, they made a call in favor of the Rams that did help them. It
Do
it
you
felt
want to know the Dallas conversion rate on third down? It was 3 out of 16.
you can't win that way.
No,
Rams
no, the Dallas can't win that way. And
Rams pretty good, but I again they gotta show me a little more before I pencil them as a lock of Super Bowl. But let's move in. Let's move on to the Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers. I smell a smelly smell of a blowout, Ashton. The Packers offense looked lights out against Minnesota. Aaron Rodgers looked like he did when they won the Super Bowl, when he won the MVP. Maybe that's because of that Jordan Love draft pick in the first round. Maybe he just wants to prove that maybe he's the best quarterback in the NFL that no one's talking about because of Mahomes and Jackson coming into the league and taking it by storm. Aaron Rodgers is still really good, everybody. He's still elite. And he's going to destroy the Lions, who looked so confused against a joke team in the Bears, where Stafford, who we both like, me and you, had a terrible, terrible game. Green Bay is going to destroy them.
yeah, Detroit is kind of like the Vikings light, or diet Vikings, I'll call them. They're the Vikings, but without any of the star players besides a decent QB. I would say their QB's better. So if Vikings can trade Detroit for Stafford, I actually think the Vikings would be a lot better of a team. But
Uh, I wouldn't go that. I don't think that if you put Matthew Stafford on the Vikings, they instantly.
versus Kirk Cousins, I absolutely do. I feel like Kirk
The
Cousins has
problem,
always held him back.
the problem with Minnesota when they lost to the Packers was not because Kirk Cousins was having a bad game. It wasn't great. He was having an above average game. It was that defense. That defense was atrocious.
But you can't rise to the point to win you games like Russell Wilson. And honestly, Stafford has been doing good in Detroit with no weapons ever. Do you
What?
like
Yes, they
it?
do. But now they do.
Really the same level as the receivers on the Vikings.
Now, yes.
Ultimately, we both have Green Bay winning. Let's be clear. I think that Detroit is just Matt Patricia is not the coach for them. It's
I don't disagree there. I think they're. I see the comparison with Minnesota Light, but I do want to just distinct that Minnesota's problems is not going to be instantly fixed because they add a quarterback like Matthew Stafford. That's all I'm saying.
I think that game would have been closer if Stafford was the court QB. I'll say that.
I think shootout. I don't think Stafford can win a shootout against Aaron Rodgers. I mean, do you think that he can win a shootout against Rodgers?
I said it would be closer. I didn't say he would have
that
won
much
it.
of a blowout. It was like what 40, 45 to 30.
Not that much of a blowout. They didn't get in the 40s.
The Packers did.
No, I'm talking about Vikings.
They got
Vikings didn't get in.
30s. Yeah, it was 43.
Yeah.
It was 40. It was 43 to 34. That was 9 points, Asher. That's not a blowout.
Well, I'm saying I think Stafford would be a better QB. Washington at Arizona.
Cardinals. Cardinals look good. I think DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray was a match made in football heaven. I mean, Kyler Murray is looking like he took that next step so far. Offensive line did enough. I think the defense also did enough. But again, you're playing against Jimmy G, who has not looked good this year. Well, week 1, so only one game. But I think the Cardinals get this win. I think it's going to, I would say, maybe 34 to 20 kind of victory, and they're going to be 2-0 in the NFC West.
Yeah, I have Arizona winning too. This is the game I'm like maybe upset's possible just because of the pass rush of Washington was so good. I don't know if that was the Eagles being so bad or if that was Washington really having a good defensive scheme. The new coach has kind of invigorated them. I could see Arizona losing, but I'll give it to Arizona for now. They surprised, and NFC West is from if everything kind of holds from week 1, it'll be a very competitive. It's the best division in football. I think you'll agree with me overall, top to bottom.
I was hoping, and I thought the NFC South was going to be a little bit more competitive, but Brady did not show me anything to prove my point right. Falcons lost when they could have won. NFC West is right now by far the most competitive conference out of all the other ones. Yeah, but move on to the last game of the week, Monday Night Football. Saints, Drew Brees and the Saints take on the Raiders. I mean, it feels like we have only had one game. We've been different on the Bengals and the Browns, so that will come down to who basically wins the week, because I'm assuming that you pick the Saints like I do. It's not that the Raiders are a bad team, but it's the Saints. They're not going to stop the Saints. They don't have enough weapons on the offense. They definitely don't have enough weapons on the defense. I think it's going to be a 2-touchdown to 17-point victory for the Saints.
Upset alert, Raiders. I'm kidding. No, it's going to be New Orleans.
I sure hope not. Oh, man.
No, the Raiders are going to get they're going to get shikabobbed. They're just going to get roasted. Yeah, the Raiders, I mean, of course, they have one of my favorite players, Corey Littleton, on them, so a soft spot in my heart for him, former Ram. Should have never left, baby, come back. But he doesn't miss tackles. But no, Corey Littleton is enough for that defense. He really isn't. He can't carry that entire team, especially with offense. I like Derek Carr. I don't love him. Raiders offense just
it's a run.
They have a really good running back.
It's a ground and pound, and I think John Gruden is fine, but he is not the NFL coach of the modern era NFL. It's very rare to have a ground and pound team that wins. Yes, the Titans went really far into the AFC Championship game with a ground and pound. The difference is their quarterback was almost 100% accurate when he did his passes. He was having a beyond historic year for his completion percentage. Derek Carr is not the same. And they have no weapons whatsoever when it comes to really receivers. I love Bryan Edwards and I love Henry Ruggs. Both those guys are going to be big-time studs in the NFL. I think the Raiders are trending in the right direction. But they're not there yet. They're still rebuilding, 5, 6, 7-win team. But you're not going to beat the Saints that are Super Bowl favorites in my eyes.
Yeah, the Saints are good, and it's going to take something more than John Gruden and the Las Vegas Raiders to knock them off. And I'll end my terrible voices.
It's going to be interesting to see who's right on that one different game, but it will have to be another crazy upset week if we want to be completely wrong with our picks. But thank you guys for joining us for our week 2 predictions. We're ready for some football. We're so happy that it's back. We love watching it, love talking about it. If you like our videos, if you like talking about sports with us, Hit subscribe, comment down below, and like our videos. It helps us out a ton. Stay safe out there, guys. Enjoy some football this weekend, and we'll see you guys in the next video.